Okay, so you're Nikki Ralston, and I'm Richie and this is Bree Nicholls. You guys gave seminars respectively at Vision Stream, right? You spoke about breathing, and you spoke about anxiety.
Correct.
And there's quite an interlink between those things, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is why it's great we're having this little conversation now, because we can make some connections. First off, what's your background, Nikki?
So I'm a yoga teacher and yoga and mindfulness educator as well. I also used to be a massage therapist for years, so I've worked intimately hands-on with people as well, and now I work in larger groups to do, essentially the same thing.
So you're delivering a similar message but to a broader audience?
Yeah.
And you, what's your background?
Yeah, I started in the advertising industry way back when I was 18, and I worked in media for, 7 years before I went, I need to get out of here.
Is that because it's antithetical to this space, this wellness space?
Well, I wasn't well, so that spurred me on to activating my own health and well-being and really thinking more about how I could be more well. And so I embarked on a Bachelor of Counselling degree and was a counsellor full-time for 3 years before entering back into the corporate space, being much more well and able to balance my life in the way that I wanted to, but wasn't able to before.
Wow, that's quite what do you call that, paradigm shift?
Yeah, massively. And it's nice to be back in the advertising space because I work in sales, but to be much more well and to be able to, let other people know about my journey, because I think in a lot of corporations or industries in Auckland at the moment and across New Zealand, people are striving and working so hard but forgetting about themselves.
Yeah. You can't fill from an empty cup, as it were.
Yeah, your cup needs to be overflowing.
Yeah.
So you can
I was reading this yesterday, that's not just a company thing, it's a societal thing. As our gross national incomes increase, so too have rates of poor mental health, which I think is really reflective of the fact that we've lost sight of what's truly important, right? Mm-hmm. Friends, family, community, breathing, something so simple as breathing, right?
It's one of your basic physiological functions, yet most of us have something that we can either learn about breathing or improve upon, right? And that impacts your whole mental health, your whole physical well-being. And it's not like you have to remember to take it with you when you leave the house in the morning, you've got it on you all the time. And it's one of the biggest tools for managing everyday stress.
And anxiety?
Yeah, anxiety, absolutely. It's so prevalent for everybody, I think, has a level of stress. And so breathing, it's a fundamental aspect of survival, and yet it's something that people just take for granted. Yeah, but it definitely plays into anxiety in a massive, massive way.
Bree, is your drive to create these changes in people and in our society, does that stem from some sort of personal experience or personal period of difficulty that you had?
Yeah, absolutely. I first came to yoga for a similar reason to most people, to stretch out. I was a runner at the time, so to stretch out my tight runner's body. And when I left that very first class, I felt calmer and clearer. I had no idea why, and more like myself than I had in ages. Not that I even realized that I didn't feel like myself. And I walked out of that first class and I was like, wow, I know I want to teach this one day. And that took another 10 years of practice. And I was in a really destructive relationship, really lost myself in that time, and my yoga practice was the only time I remembered who I was, and that got me through that really difficult period. After that I had my daughter and kind of went through more challenges in life, and then I felt ready to take on what is quite a responsible role of being a yoga teacher.
Do you feel a responsibility to your students and the people you interact with?
Oh my gosh, yes.
How so?
Well, really, essentially, any yoga teacher is guiding people into themselves and carrying this, what is quite a large weight of a 5,000-year-old tradition as well, So yoga has modernized a lot in the last 10 years, but still you're carrying this weight of honoring a tradition and also, speaking to an audience every day, truly teaching, working with the physical body, which is complex as all heck, you know, and so yeah, I do feel a huge responsibility.
And what about you? Do you feel responsible? Because you're a trained counsellor, and now you're in the corporate world again, but you still conduct counselling, right?
I think, I do, and I think a lot of healers do feel that sense of responsibility, and it's massive, and that's another thing which is a challenge to keep in check as well, you know, that sense of responsibility, and also remembering at the same time that you're human, and that, you know, people are responsible also for themselves at the same time. So it is that, but yeah, that sense of responsibility sits with me constantly.
And I guess a lot of people unload to you in your respective spheres of influence. So how do you guys manage your own self-care?
Yeah, I think that a really important thing to remember with that thing of offloading and people coming to you is boundaries. You know, it's really important to remember that healthy boundaries reflect that to people who are coming to see you, and that can help them with their boundaries as well. And it's like, and that actually allows you to be even more empathetic and be even more understanding, rather than going, oh yeah, I'm just going to take all of your stuff, let me put that on my back, and then the person's going, oh well, cool, that's been really helpful, I haven't learned anything, but because you're going to do it all for me. Yeah.
So it's like a codependency almost within a therapeutic relationship.
Absolutely.
And it's a skill, like in our industry, that you have to learn and cultivate really quickly, or else you are going to burn out.
And I think, I don't know about you, but usually we come from codependent places to get to this place where you learn to not.
Yo, this is so interesting for me.
I know. Based on the last
So Nikki has known me for over 10 years. Yeah. And I've been very codependent and been through this cycle of really destructive relationships. Yeah. I'll meet, I genuinely fall for a woman who has got a whole bunch of their own stuff going on, and we're two broken little birds, and we come together.
I see me and you.
I see me and you, and you and me.
And I can help you.
And I can help you. Yeah, I know. Basically, I'm like, if you're gorgeous and you got some issues, we could be.
That's really going to work out.
But that doesn't work. It hasn't worked. You know what I mean? And so. Yeah,
it's so important to be self-sufficient, to hold yourself up. And that allows that, and it reflects and models that to that person. They go, shit, I've got no choice here but to be that myself. And it's really empowering for you, even though it might feel like a rejection at first. It's not. Yeah.
Talk about boundaries for a minute, because a lot of people, we think boundaries, we think like borders and fences and walls, which is, figurative. But what are we talking about in a relationship? Because within a workplace, how do we have boundaries? Within a romantic relationship, how do we have boundaries?
Yeah, I like to think of boundaries like this cup. You can think of boundaries as containing you. Yeah. But if I didn't have this cup, then the water would be all over the place. It would be a hot mess, right? Yeah. So you need these boundaries to contain your energy, to contain yourself, so that you have more to give, essentially. So, I see it in the physical body, totally, bodies that don't have these boundaries, very flexible, open bodies, and they're always seeking that feedback, and that they're almost looking for that constant kind of stimulus. Compared to a body that's very rigid and tight, you're going to be more aware of where your boundaries are, probably less likely to overstep them, and if you did, your injury is going to be acute, whereas really flexible bodies tend to have chronic injuries and joint problems. So I liken it to being this vessel to contain your energy and contain yourself, so you can channel that really clearly.
What about you?
I think it's I really like the analogy of the cup, so holding it. And for me, boundaries is about acute self-awareness. And so it's in any one moment to check in and go, what's really happening at this point in time right now? How am I really feeling? Am I comfortable? Am I giving too much? Am I holding myself back? And so with acute awareness, you have realization of what your needs are in that moment, and how to look after your needs, rather than being really distracted by somebody else's needs and leaving yourself and abandoning yourself to go and nurture and look after them. That's boundaries, is to be really aware of self and make sure that you're good all the time, so you can then have the best and healthiest relationships with others.
Because sometimes we can mix up caring for someone and looking after someone and fixing someone is love, right?
It's martyrdom, really. You know, it can be. And of course, it does feel like, but I'm doing this because they need me. You know, they need me and they need this. But it strips the person of their power. Yeah.
Are these topics that you guys covered in your seminar?
No.
Not at all.
Not at all. It's a deep one though, and I think relationships are such a key one because as human beings we're constantly in connection and constantly in relationships. Maybe we need to.
Yeah, that's a whole nother seminar.
Okay, so what did you talk about? What did you talk about with breathing in your seminar?
First off, the importance of breathing, like we just touched on before, that it's one of our greatest tools for managing our day-to-day stress. And we breathe tens of thousands of times a day, but just how often are you aware of how you're breathing? You know, it's our only function in the body that happens automatically, but we can also control at will. And that's why it's such a powerful tool to use, not only to oxygenate your physical body, but to train and harness the focus of your mind.
And you?
On my seminar,
Yeah.
Anxiety. Yeah, so mine was just about defining what it actually is and thinking about the external stresses in our life that can make us feel more anxious.
Let me stop you there.
Yeah.
Do you want to define anxiety? Because it's a word we hear about more and more.
Yeah, cool. So it's really commonplace for all of us to feel stress and to feel the emotion of anxiety at points in our life. But anxiety is when those feelings don't go away even when those stresses are removed from our lives. So they're with you continuously. And it's quite serious. So anxiety is a really serious condition that impacts your ability to cope in day-to-day life. So it becomes really incapacitated.
Why do we have such an increase in it? Is it because it's like we're in that constant fight or flight mode?
I think, yes, I think that, but I think people would argue less so in this day and age, but I think it's because people are leaving themselves. And you would see that here as well.
We've got so much more distraction, right?
So much more distraction.
You've got distraction at your fingertips. You can scroll through stuff where what would you have done in the past? Like actually just sat and like maybe waited for a bus and so actually sat with yourself.
We're not being taught, unless we're actively seeking out yoga, mindfulness, meditation or counselling, to really sit with ourselves and to not abandon ourselves, because every single time something distressful comes up, what are people going to do? They're going to fight or flight by either escaping or going, I don't want this, make it go away, rather than, and that was part of my seminar, the question is, what's really going on?
Yeah, that's interesting, because I was talking about this yesterday and I was talking about coping mechanisms.
Yes.
So if we talk about the modern world,
yes.
So a lot of my professional background's in reducing alcohol and drug harm.
And alcohol and drugs are coping mechanisms for anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. And they're also culturally normalised.
Exactly.
You know, what's the first thing we say when we want to catch up with someone? Do you want to catch up
Go
for
have
a
a
drink?
wine.
Do you want to have a wine? Should we have a couple of beers?
Yeah.
And so what starts as like our key point of socialisation ends up a wine after work every day, and that everyone else is doing it, so we don't think that actually we might be dampening down some feelings inside ourselves, right?
And isn't it interesting that it's okay to catch up over a beer or wine, but from a guy to a guy to say, hey, should we just catch up and have a chat? Like, no, whoa. So confronting for people.
It's like, what's going on?
Yeah. So I feel really fortunate that. Like, I hang out in a really masculine sport. I'm a Thai boxing coach. I used to fight people for fame and glory.
For money.
Yeah. I used to fight people for money. But because I'm reasonably comfortable, in fact, I'm very comfortable at talking about my feelings and what's going on with me, and if I'm sad, you know, and if I'm happy, you know.
Yeah.
The bros in my world, we talk about real shit.
Yeah.
Because
we're lucky to have men doing that. It's so important to have men going out there and talking about their feelings and saying, hey, as a role model, it's more than okay. It's actually cool. Yeah.
Because I think what happens in a social circle, if one person creates like a social permission, other people will start doing
follow.
it.
Yeah.
So I guess in a workplace, if we role model like you say, hey, I'm having a bad day, and I'd be like, I'm having a bad day too, let's talk about it. Isn't that better than going out and getting hammered on the weekend?
Absolutely, because you've immediately created a connection of community, of support, of I'm not alone in this, there's somebody else out there struggling just like me, which for some reason makes you feel better.
Yeah, we see that a lot. We're starting to, I think we're seeing a slow shift.
Absolutely.
At least in masculinity. John Kerwin, Mike King, you know, like people who've got, you know, a big profile and talking about depression and mental health struggles.
Well, not here, but Prince Harry and Prince William both just come out talking about their struggles with mental health as well.
Really? I missed that.
It's been all through the news.
Wow.
Yeah, but they're massive...
too busy doing.
Yeah, too busy doing. Maybe you should be being that.
That's true.
No, so they're massive advocates of mental health, and they're finally talking about their experience of what happened after their mother died and what that was like for them being in the public spotlight.
Well, because apparently she had her own mental health struggles, no? Diana, depression.
Yeah.
So I guess then you have like this biological component of their mental health and their drivers of good or poor mental health, and we all have that, right?
Yeah.
We have the biopsycho-social model, which I think a lot of people forget. I find that in our modern world, we always look to the individual for being responsible for the situation that they're in, divorcing them from family history, neighborhood they grew up in, broader social context of drivers of behaviour, mood and well-being, right?
It was interesting because in my seminar I talked about Te Whare Tapawha, which is funny because Vanessa came up at the end and she talked to me. So it's a Māori mental health model which was created by Sir Mason Jury, and it talks to that. So we are not in isolation, but we're so often walking around thinking, oh, my problem, me, I, this. Where in actual fact we're connected to a wider social community, and that connectedness is hugely important because it's the one, like breathing, we are always going to be connected to others.
I love Te Whare Tapawha.
Yeah.
I first encountered that when I was studying education.
Yeah.
I used to want to be a primary school teacher, but then I was like, no, I don't want to do that. But some really interesting studies during that period. It's mental health, physical health, spiritual health, whānau health, or community health.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a great way of looking at all of our well-being.
Yep.
But we divorce that. We often look at our muscles.
Am I strong?
Am I
going
strong?
to the gym? Yeah.
Can I run far? And all those things are great and valid, and I love having muscles and running far too, and I feel really proud about myself. It's quite validating. But all those things are intrinsically interlinked into my mental health and my physical health and my community. But we forget that, don't we?
Yeah, and it's like, are your four walls strong? And one of the things to think about is, if I look at those four walls of connectedness, spirituality, mental health and physical health, where am I lacking? What are the things that I'm not, where am I shaky? Because the idea is what I talked about before, for optimal health and well-being, you want to be at that optimal level. So no matter what happens to you in life, if you're with a relationship breakup or someone in your family gets sick or you get unwell, you're here, so your resilience is so much stronger rather than, some people would have all four walls would be low.
Totally.
Yeah.
And people aren't aware of it. So, I got divorced 3 years ago, and I've retrospectively, with the help of psychotherapists.
Yeah, they're amazing. They're amazing.
Amazing. I love therapy. I've been in therapy off and on for 13 years.
Yeah.
Not because I'm unwell all the time.
Hey, me too.
but because I want to stay well.
Yeah.
I go to the gym every day. I see trainers. I have training partners for my physical health. It's the same with my mental and emotional health. But we came to understand, and I didn't realize it, but I'd been going through a low level of dysthymia, like a low depression for many years. And if I look back at my Instagram feed, that makes sense, because it's often very, very sad. But I wasn't aware of that until I came out the end of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Same period of extreme stress is like when you go through, it's another thing that I discussed in my seminar, often we don't even know that we've had anxiety or depression until after.
Yeah.
So it's about recognizing those signs and going, I'm really not good. I'm not coping, and that's okay. And it's okay to be in this space, like with mindfulness. It's not about fighting it, or it's not about running from it, but it's just about accepting that that's what it is.
I think one thing we forget about as well is in that stress reaction, like there's all the harmful hormones and chemicals racing around the body, but also under stress, the body produces oxytocin, which is that bonding chemical as well, and like actually reaching out to somebody else in times of stress, sharing your stress, not to burden them, but to actually vocalize it, opens up that pathway for connection and understanding, so I think we tend to forget about how much value is in that connection. And I also think that when you said about doing that work to go to a counsellor and to actually understand more about yourself. And I think that's at the heart of it. I believe like understanding is just another name for love. And we can talk about self-love in like a really waffly, fluffy,
such a hashtag
positive, you know, but it's so much deeper than that. And if we think of love or understanding is another word for love, like when we're in that inquiry of understanding ourselves more, then our capacity for love grows.
Yeah, it's like that thing is like being in counselling, which I am too, and have been regularly. It's like I'm actually really committed to loving myself, like very, boom. Yes. And not just loving myself, but respecting myself. And I was just reflecting this morning in my counselling session how much I've grown since my 20s, when I was hell-bent on destructing, I'd use a different word, but I can't, on destructing myself in any possible way. And just to look at how far I've come, and I've gone, man, what a difference. Like, how differently do I feel about myself? I just am in this place of wholeness and respect for my being. How cool, because back then I just tried to destroy it, any opportunity, you know.
And I think then when it comes back to relationships, whether they're personal relationships, friendship relationships, work relationships, if we come from that place of seeking understanding, then you know that
compassion,
we come from a place of love, that we might not think necessarily love in the workspace, but if we come from a place of understanding, then we invite connection rather than put up
walls. Because quite often in the workspace there can be, you know, it's high stress and it's tense, and you know, people are anxious and unwell without even being aware of it. We snap at each other, we demand instant email responses, and
I don't want to show weakness.
Absolutely
I want to be
true.
the key performer in my team.
Absolutely true.
How do we encourage people in the corporate environment to come from that place of love, coming from that place of understanding? Oh, Sam wrote me a really terse email. Well, maybe Sam's having a hard time at home, or he's a bit stressed.
Someone put their hand up in the seminar and we talked about this. And so exactly the point that you were just talking about. And it's about remembering, coming from a place of compassion and understanding that anyone, every single person, you, me, everyone is going through something at any one given time. So when you get those snappy emails, someone's being really dominant, someone's being really aggressive, and you're just going, what's actually really going on for that person? And that's that same question we ask ourselves, what's really going on for me? What are my needs? So we can look at that person and go, oh, maybe they're feeling really inferior if they're behaving in a superior way. They're probably feeling a little bit inferior. That's a shame, you know, and to look at them with love and understanding, but also not to give parts of yourself away. Because one of my old tendencies would be like, I've got to make them better. Oh, I'm going to go over there, I'm going to love you, I'm going to hug you. And then it's like, well, actually, Bree, you've got a job to do here. Like your place in this company is just as important. Before you go away giving away your power to people, make sure that you're it's about being that compassionate with yourself and, you know, being really loving, so then you can be the same with people at work and go, oh, I see you, don't try and hide from me, I know what's really going on here and I love you, and that's cool. Like, and that's those boundaries of loving without attachment, or loving without codependency.
Loving without expectation.
Loving without expectation. I just love you, and that's, sorry.
And it's okay
I do.
You don't love me back, or I'm not
exactly.
Because quite often we put out love or some form of expression of it with the hope that it's going to be reciprocated.
It's a challenge to be like that. But I think that's what I'm going through lately. And so at work, I'm just, you know, I just look at people and I think, I just love you. Even, it sounds weird, you know, but just to come from a place that I don't need anything back from that person. Yeah.
There's probably, like, talking about love and feelings and all of this, I can imagine there's some people listening to this who are like, I don't know, dude.
I don't have those feelings.
I just go to work 9 to 5 and that's my job.
That's normal too.
Is it? Or is it taught learned behaviour? Like, we put people in boxes and that's how you're meant to be, and you get in trouble at school if you turn up late. But no one minds if you're on time all the time and just slide through and don't raise your voice. Like, I think from a young age we are taught that these are the rules of behaviour that you need to fit in. You need to wear your uniform properly. turn up on time, don't necessarily ask too difficult questions.
Yes.
I mean, if we can in broad general terms
Yeah.
here, and that's what we take into our academic studies as adults and then into the workplace. How do we get people perhaps who might not be doing that introspection and that self-work to maybe have a little bit of a dig around and figure out what their drivers are? And I'm not saying everyone's got some issues going on. Some people have got like picket fence lives or you're like, I'm the psychotherapist. No way.
They're probably not.
No, but do you know what I mean? Like, how do we get people to really truly rise to the highest level of themselves with that self-work? Should they not be considering that?
For me, it's coming to your breath, first of all, to connect your inner and outer worlds, and actually just start to sit and acknowledge what's going on, like the layers of thoughts that are racing through your mind at any given time, and to learn to sit with yourself. It might start with 1 minute of sitting and actually observing and feeling what's going on, or and then slowly 2 minutes, 3 minutes, because we have really kind of lost that art in some respects of being able to sit and just be with ourselves and be with what is there. Quite often people think of meditation of like, I'm useless at meditation, I can't do it, and I'll be like, why? And they're like, I just keep thinking. And it's like, well, your brain's designed to think, just like your heart's designed to beat. Like, we don't want the heart stopping, do we? And we don't necessarily want the brain to stop. And I can guarantee you in meditation, when you do have that moment of clarity and no thoughts, then you're like, I just thought. Like, I thought, like that is what your brain's designed to do. So actually sitting and actually
seeing what
becoming
comes up,
aware of maybe just how busy it is up in there.
Yeah, that's a great first step.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, actually, when I'm quiet and I'm not on Tinder, I'm not on Tinder. Seriously. I find Tinder really distasteful. We can talk about that, but...
We can talk about that maybe in the relationship sector.
Yeah, the relationship sector. But if we're thinking about, human disconnection, we all want to feel loved and connected and valued and attractive, and we want to share our lives with someone. Like, we're designed like that as people, as social animals. Right? We need love as much as we need oxygen. Yeah. But I find that we're divorced through that because we interface. And it's all really superficial and technologically... we're divorcing ourselves from...
real connection.
This.
Yeah.
Hey, there's no touching or smile or see you or, you can pick up a lot in a human interaction face to face. When you're just selling the best version of yourself through your Facebook profile, your Tinder profile, or whatever it may be.
Yeah, it can be misconstrued, that image too.
Yeah, it can be totally misconstrued or misrepresented.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so.
So we're getting further, so we're not coming into ourselves like you're talking about, Nikki. In this constant digital age, we're getting further and further away from who we really are, because it's like an armor. It's like no one wants to be too vulnerable when we've all been a bit hurt, maybe.
And yet, there's a positive side to technology, which I always like to remind people, in that it is a platform for like amazing awareness and change, and tapping into really and people who are doing incredible things. So on my Instagram feed, I don't follow any BS accounts. I just don't. I refuse to follow the Kardashians, even though if you do, it's fine. It's fine. It's just not right for me and for what I want to fill my space and mind with. So I follow these incredible earth mamas who are doing, amazing things, and also people who are really succeeding in the corporate space, because that's kind of where I want to go to. And so it's like you're actually in control of your social media. Don't have to feel in a place where you're out of control with it and sort of going down a rabbit hole. It's like you can use that space to add to richness to your life.
And I agree. I guess it's like a lot of tools. It's how you use it.
How you use it, and how you're managing yourself, and what are your intentions behind using it. Do I want to make myself feel bad? Am I going on here because I'm feeling really alone and I want to be destructive? Or am I going in here because I feel like I just want to connect with people and see...
And that's true too. I have some amazing conversations with people all around the world on my social media that I've never met.
It's incredible.
But I'm like, oh wow, you're teaching me and I'm teaching you, and it is like a virtual community.
And there's a sense of belonging there.
There is a sense of belonging there. I just think it's important that we don't lose yourself into it.
Right?
It is
It's
boundaries.
like
Nice.
how
Yo, I see what
clearly
you-
you want to channel
Yeah.
your energy. My partner
Very
called
true.
me up because I was like annoyed by somebody's feed and what they kept posting. He's like, just don't follow it then. You know, like you don't have to look.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Oh, what a concept.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, creating that container for yourself that you're clearly directing your energy and attention into things that feed you rather than stuff that doesn't.
And recognising when you're getting a little bit out of line, because I have got a secret guilty pleasure, and it's a certain TV show that I like to watch. And there are days that I'm like, no, it's actually a soul space for me to go there. But if I'm doing it every day, I'm like, oh, I'm not good. Get out of there.
So that's like a coping mechanism, right?
Yeah.
Mine happens to be sugar.
Yeah. It's great stuff.
It's good. You know, like if I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed or emotionally exhausted,
sugar.
I do turn to sugar. I don't drink alcohol, I don't use drugs, I don't use pornography.
Yeah.
But I do sometimes find myself at the bottom of a tub of organic ice cream when
It's great.
Yeah. How do you know? That's my thing. I love
some the other night.
Yeah, I know.
Peppermint and double chocolate.
Oh wow, you're crazy with that peppermint. But you know what I mean? Like we do all have something, and it's. I guess when I'm speaking to audiences, I'm like, you need to learn to find a cope mechanism that builds you and puts something into your life and doesn't take away from it or break it.
Nice.
And I know sugar is not the best, but it's, you know, increasingly we see alcoholism on the rise or prescription drugs, you know, or any number of these things that we can abuse to numb those feelings, numb that affect.
But I think it's an important point that you just touched on, is that actually we're all human beings, and like to not get too uptight. Too uptight.
Yeah.
I used to be very uptight with my eating.
Yeah, me
very
too.
uptight with my exercise.
Yeah.
And now it's like, if you want to have some chocolate, oh my gosh,
So
have some ice cream. Yes. And like get kind of wallow around in it, you know? Like, and I believe in
I
that.
always say,
Like,
if you're going to
absolutely.
eat something, like enjoy it.
Be mindful with it.
Well-
This is like, enjoy the taste. I'm having some delicious organic ice cream. Oh my god.
I actually struggle with this, like,
Allowing yourself to.
totally. I have massive guilt around my food, and it's less and less as I get older and I do some reading and work on this. But I definitely love myself more when I eat a clean diet and I'm a certain number on the scales.
Absolutely.
And you know what? When one of the guys at the gym says you look lean, that is a massive compliment for me.
Yeah.
And I know that's not healthy, that I put so much worth into my physical appearance. But at the same time, I think about being an insecure kid.
It's deeply entrenched.
It's deeply entrenched, and I've really noticed how people started treating me differently, guys and girls, when I got good at my sport and when I, you know, blossom into like a muscular tattooed athlete, you know, which is stupid and superficial, and I'm fully aware of that, but I'm trying to figure out how not to have that guilt. Because, you know, orthorexia, how many people do you know who are orthorexic? For those who aren't orthorexic, you can define orthorexia. So we have anorexia and we have bulimia as eating food. Orthorexia is when you are so strict and regimented about gluten-free, vegan, paleo, like it's such a restrictive diet, it becomes problematic.
Yeah, it's not really living.
It's not really living, no. But
And sometimes a reason for superiority.
Absolutely.
Or, you know,
yeah.
I'm so good because I have this much self-restraint, you know. And
Or
watching
specialness, that kind of comes from a place of not really feeling that, you know,
Yeah.
by controlling or restricting. Yeah. Or, you know, it's just like saying, hey, I need someone. I do know some people like that. It's like, oh, I can't eat that because, you know, and they go on and on. It's like they just want to be seen. They just want you to see them.
Yeah.
And so you can go, hey, I really see you. Yeah.
In closing, one final thought for anyone who might be listening to this and considering their well-being.
Bring the attention to your breath. Even if it's just for 2 minutes a day, to slow things down. And I notice when I say that, each time I talk about it,
He takes a breath.
I
saw that too.
Yeah, and that's all it takes. Like, you know, everybody's got 2 minutes. The biggest excuse is not having time, but you can take 2 minutes. And the kind of clarity and calmness that even 2 minutes will bring you, I can guarantee you'll go back to respond to maybe that gnarly email that you got from a little more place of understanding.
Yeah, awesome.
Bree?
I think for me, just in regards to what my seminar was on and where I'm at with myself currently, it's like how how can you develop a stronger relationship with yourself right now? So how can you commit to being in relationship with yourself more? Yeah, and it's the same with stopping and taking a breath, but just thinking about that, like, when I talked about loving myself, I haven't been really committed to that. It's like, I would really love for people to take a moment to think about how can I love myself more today.
Beautiful. Hey guys, I've had a really great time talking with you. I hope you people listening have found some little gems of wisdom in amongst all the laughter.
It's been very cool, very stimulating.
All right, thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you.